Welcome to a video from MusicLifestyle.com. This is a look at what's in the Korg Collection 5. Korg just released this fifth iteration of their collection, which actually goes right back to the Korg Legacy Collection, as it was called originally. It was launched in 2004, and over the years they've added more and more synths. It was 5, I think, at the time, and now I think there's nearly 15 instruments ranging from classic model synths 1971, virtual analogues from 2002, classics like the Wavestation, the M1, the ARP Odyssey, drum machines. I'm going to show you a brief look at each one of the instruments that are included in this collection. On the screen here I've got the 3 latest instruments that have been added since Korg Collection 4. Incidentally, I'll talk about prices at the end of this video, but there is upgrade prices as well. So the 3 new ones are a Vox Continental Organ, electric piano, and the 2600, the ARP 2600. These are all VST, AU, and AAX formats as well, so they work in standalone mode like I'm using now, or you can use it in your DAW. I've been using them in Cubase, and they work pretty well. Right, so this is the 2600. Which is based on the 1971 classic ARP 2600 semi-modular. What does semi-modular mean? Well, it means that you can kind of override the pre-routing. For example, so here we've got an oscillator that produces a square wave. So you can see oscillator 1 goes to the mixer there as a square wave, but you could say I want the sawtooth wave. So you can pull a cable and pull it into there, and that makes a sawtooth wave. The 2600 is a 3 oscillator analog semi-modular synth with filters, drive, and there's some extra bits added like this step sequencer. We've got extra envelopes, and it's a really interesting synth. This is a synth sound I patched, the Genesis Cinema Shows type lead, but as you can see I can really change this to a different sound straight away just by patching some of these different things in, and I can bring another oscillator and I can detune it a bit. So these are some of the synth sounds I programmed. Gary Newman type sound. There's effects on each one. A lot of these 3 first ones I'm going to show you have got very similar effects. So we've got phase as chorus, there's a reverb, but there's also a spring reverb, as the 2600 has a spring reverb on there. So you can get some interesting sounds like that. I've used a bit of routing there because it's a duophonic mode, and I'm using the voltage lag processor to make a bit of lag on that second oscillator, and I've got a bit of feedback. The VCF is fed back into the audio input, and so I'm creating that sort of feedback sound. Here's an example of the sequencer running. So I've got the step sequencer on there. And it's got things like MIDI learn on there, so I can control that from. I've got it set for my key stage here, so I could learn that one. So you've got full MIDI learner on there. We've got an arpeggiator, and so we've got sequencer, 3 oscillators. We've even got some of the trim pots around the back in there as well. So you can see how you can adjust those as well. So it's polyphonic as well, 8-note polyphonic. You can have it, or you can have it up to 16 actually. So yeah, you can just set it from there. And so as well as having those mono sounds, you've got some great pads on there, and you can hear the poly aftertouch from the key stage. Controlling the envelope. So if you get one of my banks, I've got 40 patches on there, but some of the presets are really good as well. quick bit of Vangelis, or if you're a Genesis. So it's really nice synth, loads to play, really fun to play with, and I say I've got a full 30-minute video where I go through all of this. We've got sample and hold, we've got noise generators. You can really do a hell of a lot with this, so do check out that video if you're interested in it, but this is well worth upgrading to get the 2600. So the next one is the EP1 electric piano, which models electric pianos ranging from the 60s and more recent ones as well. Using Korg's multi-dimensional synthesis technology, which is out of the Kronos and Nautilus synths. So we've got a few different ones on here. Again, similar with effects that you've just seen. You've got phases and chorus, and we've got a library of presets on there, and you can save and make your own on there. Bit of mod wheel adjusting on there. See, we've got different ones. So more of an 80s style. More of an 80s style piano. We've got the reed type, which is the Wurlitzer type. That was more of a Rhodes one. This is more of a reed type. So you've got those different models, and then you've got all these different effects as well, which you can go through, and you can set up some mixing there. You can see the mod wheel is doing wet and dry on there. Whether these are good enough to replace my Nord Electro, I think they probably are, especially with a good controller keyboard. You've got a bit more control over them maybe in my Nord Electro, but so that's the electric piano. I do like that one, and I need to spend some more time with it, but it is quite a nice fun synth, or fun electric piano. The other new one is the Vox Continental. This is a modelled combo organ from the 1960s. Used lots in mid-60s, used in 70s and 80s in ska and new wave and Elvis Costello and that kind of thing. There's a lot of presets on this as well. That's that sort of familiar sound. So I've mapped the controllers on the key stage to this, so I've got and I could map some of the others as well, but you've got so you can also adjust them like this as well. It's got a load of effects on there as well, just as the others. We've got guitar amps, we've got the rotary speaker one. If I find one with a rotary speaker, I could change that one, but there are some nice ones with a bit of rotary on there. And I've set my the mod wheel to control the Leslie. You can hear it speeding up there. So I've just set that as a switch. So we can have a bit of gain on there, because I like it clipping a little bit. There you can see the split points and the MIDI split controllers as well. So it's got 2 manuals, so you can see I've been doing the upper section so far, but you can go to the lower and control that, or you can do it on a key split, or you can do it on a MIDI split, so you can send over 2 MIDI channels, so this will receive on 1, this will receive on 2, so you can do your own splits on there. It's not something I play with very often, the Vox Continental type sound. I've got it on my Node Electro, but I must admit I don't use it very often. But I think this might make me interesting, especially now I've set the Leslie, especially now I've set the drawbars up. So a nice organ there. Right, so on to the other synths in the collection. So this is one of the ones that I added last year. This is the microKorg 700S, and this is an interesting synth, different architecture to many other synths from this era, 1970s one, and you can produce some pretty interesting sounds from it. And there's a whole bunch of them on here, but actually, it's rather nice to program actually as well. So, quick look at that. You can see here you've got the reproduction of the 700S along with some pedals as well. You can go into a sort of 2D mode. So you've got a traveler section, which is a filter, which is a low pass and a high pass filter effectively. So you can bring it. You get more of a band pass effect with it, really. Then you have different voice modes, which it was a mono synth, but as you just heard I was playing a pad sound, but you have got your typical mono synth type sounds in there. You've got an oscillator select, so the chorus ones are actually using PWM, but you just got those sort of settings on it. Then you've got this modulation mode as well. Then you've got this modulation, which is the second oscillator. You can hear the second oscillator coming in there, and you can change the pitch on that. You can have it to modulate, and then you can choose the scale that you want it to do. And you've got some sort of basic envelope type settings. You've got an arpeggiator. And again, you can MIDI learn all these, so I could learn these from the key stage as well. So I could have set these up from the key. There you can see I have a key stage controlling the depth there as well. And then when you go to the effects section, turn the arpeggiator off. We've got, so we can put distortion on, which has a nice drive to it. And we've got an equalizer and a flanger and a phaser and a delay and some reverb, which is already on. So it's interesting. It's quite quirky but interesting to play with, and lots of little options on there for you to play with, so I really like that one. So the next one is the Electribe. This is a drum machine. I had one of these in the early 2000s. So it's actually a mixture of synthesis and samples on there. So if you can hear this one there, if I mute some of these parts, I select this part and you can just, so you can choose your waveform. So it's using a sine wave, but I can have a square, and then I can mod it with one of these waveforms, so it's got like an envelope, but I could have another square. So I can use MIDI learn to set these up. There's some good presets on here as well. I remember many of these. I always seem to remember liking the vintage one, I think it was. And if you hear the samples there, I could quickly show you the programming techniques from it as well. So we've got the clap part here. You can see it goes on beat 29. I think it's a grid view as well. Yeah, there is. Yeah, it's a grid view. But I could go to part. I could add some claps in, and then add them on the other bit as well. And the other thing you can do is you can record this. So you can record your motion on there as well. And then you can chain these together and all that kind of thing if you want. And then you've got some effects as well. So, quite a fun machine, loads of presets to play with, there's whole banks of them, and really nice 2000s especially style drums on there. Really fun little drum machine. So this is the microKorg, reproduction of the microKorg, which I think is one of the best selling synths of all time now. I've got an MS-2000, which is actually, the microKorg was kind of based on similar engine. So it's actually quite a nice sounding synth. It's got program selectors on the microKorg by genre, which is kind of funny. So you can go to, let's say you want to go to a trance, you can go into electronica, you can go into there and sort of pick your patches from there. But it's nice and easy to pick it from here. Here I've got some MS-2000 ones. Which I've loaded into it. So, as well as having the, you've got the MS-2000 type engine on there, there is a arpeggiator, no motion sequencer, I remember this one, which the MS-2000 does have, so it's a shame, it'd be nice to make a model of that actually, wouldn't it? But you have got some basic effects on there as well, and you've got some virtual patch on it. Again, it's got MIDI learn as well, so let's just find something fairly. And I can learn the filter cutoff, so I'll just teach that one. So it's got some interesting sounds on there. There is tons available as well, you can find online as well for these as well. The microKorg and the MS-2000 were 4-note polyphonic, but this being a virtual, you've got a few more to go with on there. And it has got a vocoder on it as well. I can't show you that, but I do have a microKorg video on a YouTube channel. Have a look for that, and I'll show you how to use the vocoder with there. But it basically uses the mic input, so you can get vocoder on there and some interesting, sort of almost classic sounds on there as well. And you got some virtual patching as well, I should say as well, so you can patch the mod wheel to do like noise or. So you can see I've got the virtual patching set up there with the mod wheel as well. So, and you've got two effects. You've got a delay and a mod effect, just as the MS-2000. So you can have a phaser, ensemble, a chorus, flanger, and then a delay on there as well. There's no other additional effects on top of that. But anyway, good fun little synth. So this is the Prophecy, which is analog modelling synth and also does physical modelling as well. So as well as being able to do analog synth type sounds, because it's a virtual analog, it's got physical modelling. So here you can choose. So a standard is sort of like VCO type oscillator, analog modelling, but then you've got these other things there, so you can choose a model. So this is using the reed model, and you can do things like adjust the pressure of, or the reed style. So say I've got a sine wave there, I'm going to change that to a reed one. So this recorder there, we can adjust the way that the pressure goes through, or the reed size, as well as the envelopes, and then you've got some wave shaping on that as well. So you can actually get some really interesting sounds out of it. I think physical modelling was a really interesting technique that never really got mainstream. Here's like a brass sound, and you can adjust the resonant bell of the trumpet sound, or adjust the bell type, and then the lip character. And then of course you've got these multi-stage envelopes as well, which are quite powerful. You can get some really interesting synth sounds that you wouldn't be able to get out of one of the other synths. Again, you can MIDI learn all these as well. So you've got interesting sounds like that, and you have also got synth sounds. From the analog modelling side of things. So that's a quick look at the Prophecy. So next up is the Triton. So the legendary workstation from Korg, plenty of Tritons out there, but all the factory cards are in there, all the expansion cards are in there. I've got a Korg Karma actually, so I recognise some of these sounds. The guitars, the drum kits are in there. It's a proper rumpler. All the advanced arpeggiators are in there as well. All the combis are there with multi, where you can select different sounds on different channels. All the combis are in there, the original ones. You have these multi parts on there. All the expansion cards are in there. I always like the vintage ones. There's some nice stuff in there. You've got Merlotron flutes, vocoders, and even analog kits. And then you've got that studio collection. Piano one's always quite good. Not actually bad piano sound. I think it's also got the house. That's the M1 piano sound on there. So you've got all the cards in there. So Some of them are probably dated better than others. But, and you can do all the programming exactly as you could, so you can choose your oscillators and you've got the filter controls. So it's a full replication. So it's a full reproduction of the Triton. Actually, there's two versions of this as well. There's a Triton Extreme as well, which has got the valve on there. I don't have that one in stock. It's pretty much the same with the valve side on there. So lots of information out there on the Triton, but it's definitely well worth having a look at. It's got some good bread and butter type sounds on there as well. If you're after some, some of those sounds as well. Like I mentioned, you've got basses and all all your standard ones, your standard drum kits as well. If you've ever used Triton, you'll instantly recognise many of these sounds. Programming is not like an analog synth, but they've made it easy with this easy mode on there, and then you can sort of get right the way through all the parameters and the effects as well. So definitely interesting synth. This is the ARP Odyssey. Great sounding synth. Sort of 1973, I think this came out, and we've got a dual oscillator synth, and actually you may recognise it from the 2600. A lot of this technology from the 2600 was made into the Odyssey, and that's why they look familiar. There's no patch cables on this one, but you can see you've got the mixer here with the dual oscillators, so oscillator 1 and 2. And you can. This also supports MIDI learn as well, so you can control things like, let's change the filter so I can assign that one. I can change the ADSR on the filter down. So you can do MIDI learn and control all this as well. And there's some great presets in here as well. Nice. There's the 3 filter types that were on the Odyssey's various revisions on there. In fact, the UI actually changes on some of them as well, so you can have the different look of the different revisions of Odyssey. And then you've got effects as well. We've got distortion, phaser, chorus, EQ, delay, reverb, and a motion sequencer arpeggiator, which you can actually do some interesting things with this one. So here's a few that I've been playing with. So in terms of Tony Banks using ARP Odyssey, and so I've programmed quite a few of those sounds in itself. It's pretty easy to program actually to get into. But then you can also do interesting loops like this using the motion sequencer, so the step sequencer. So I've stepped. So you can also do interesting things using the arpeggiator and turn it into a sequencer, because you can alter the pitch either in semitones or in octaves, and it will do motion recording as well. So you can see I'm playing with the time on the reverb there on one of those lanes as well. So you get some nice sort of Tangerine Dream type sounds. Quite easy to play with like that, and I can also get it to adjust, say, the VCF cutoff. So let's turn that on. So you can see it's quite an interesting synth to play with. Lots. So you can see it's quite a good fun synth to play with. Comes with some nice analog sounds out of it, and there is loads of presets to play with. One of the oldest ones in the collection is the MS-20, which is a mono synth. Still sounds good. 2 oscillators with noise, as you can hear there, and some patch capability as well. So you can patch the sort of the output of one of the envelopes to an oscillator to create some PWM and that kind of thing. And there's 2 insert effects as well. So I'm getting good sounds out of it. So, good synth to try. One of the other older ones is the Polysix, which is the Korg Polysix that's modelled. Which I actually really like as your sort of traditional early 80s, mid 80s analog synth. I really like his sort of early 80s analog synth on there. It's got some nice sounds on it. It's interesting because it's got a separate envelope for the filter and the amp. Not all of this era type synths did have that, so it enables you to produce nice filter sweeps and that kind of thing. It's got an arpeggiator, you've got some modulation routing as well, and then you've got the unison modes, poly mode, and the ensemble chorus from the original Polysix as well. Incidentally, if you use a mod wave or a wave state, the filters on there actually, the filters on the mod wave and the wave state are actually modelled on the Polysix. Well, one of the modes is there's multiple filters, an MS-21 as well. Again, this supports MIDI learn, so let's just learn that one. That's without the ensemble. Then you've got the chorus and ensemble on there. You've got an arpeggiator with full 2-octave, 1-octave modes and up and down, and which you can latch. Let's learn the resonance on there. Make sure you check out that one. That's definitely an interesting one to play with, and loads of sounds in there, some more complex than others. And you can have your effects on there as well, so we can have a bit. So definitely have a look at that one. So this is the Monopoly, another one of the older ones, actually, older synths in the collection, I think back from the original version. This is an interesting synth, like it was at the time, because it's got, where it's 4 voice, it's got 4 oscillators, it shares a filter, but it means you can do some interesting stuff around the way that it chooses the notes. So I'll show you what I mean. So we're in poly mode at the minute. If I put it to original modes, so if I play 3 notes, you can see it's using those 3. If I play a 4th note, it uses the 4th one. I'm just going to knock the effects off for now to show you what I mean. So this is in the original mode. If you're using the poly mode, it just does it as a normal poly synth. It plays all of them at the same time. But 1, 2, 3, 4. But what it does mean, I can say, okay, well, waveform 1 I want to be the sawtooth, but waveform 2 I want PWA, or no, oscillator 2, oscillator 3 I want it to be pulse width, and oscillator 4 I want it to be a triangle. And you can tune it, so I can say I want the first note to be low, and I want the fourth one to be high. So you get that interesting effect. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So it means you can get some interesting kind of effects on there, especially if you start to arpeggiate it. So if I put it on the arpeggiator, you see now you've got that effect of those different notes. Put it back to poly mode. You can hear it's playing all 4 notes at once. So you've got the control over that, but it is quite an interesting idea. But it is limited by that single filter. But the filter does have its own envelope, and the amplifier has its own envelope as well. So you can get some good sounds out of it. You see, there's a lot as well. Again, you can do the learn. To get some nice sounds out of it. So I really do like this synth. It's got some quirks around the 4 oscillators and the way that it works, but it's well worth playing with. You've got some. So we've got some mod routing as well. We can have velocity there to the intensity of the envelope. Turn that down. Turn the envelope a bit. So quietly, play harder. So you've got the control over it like that as well, and we've got some cross modulations, so we can have sync. We can have sync. You can have got PWM on there now, and you can modify that from different oscillators, so you can have a sawtooth or a sine wave, a triangle wave. And you can key sync these as well to tempo signal. So a good synth, that one. This is a bit of a classic, isn't it? This is the M1. This is a recreation of the classic M1 synthesizer. It's got all the cards that the M1 shipped with, and were available for the M1, including the T1 cards as well, which were floppy drives by the looks of it. Including the T1 cards as well, floppy drives, and the disc that they came on. And you'll instantly recognise the M1 style house piano, and I think the organs in there. But there's also a lot of sort of rumpler type sounds, so there's classic sounds like the universe. Pretty famous sounds. There's the classic choir sound in there. M1 was one of the first rumplers, so but actually you can do the editing pretty easy on there. You can select through the browser for one of the samples, and you can even preview those and then apply it to the patch. There's a nice easy browser as well on this one, so you can choose sort of your organ part, or you can choose organ or strings or whatever. nice 90s organ on there. There's a whole range of sounds on here. Oh, ooh, ah, this is one of my favourites. Velocity sensitive. Incidentally, I've recreated most of these for the ModWave and Wavestate, so if you've got one of those synths, you can get the patches from the M1 for your synth. But then you can do the programming on it, you can do some nice programming on it, you can choose your sounds, and there's some filter modes, you've got the envelopes, and there's to insert effects as well. So there's the program mode, which we're in now, and you can have combi mode where you can load this up with different ones, like the film score. Which is a combination of using these sounds. So a really, if you like the M1 sound, definitely get this is a bit of a classic. So if you like that late 80s, early 90s sound, especially like that piano and organ sound, this is a bit of a classic. So this is the 1990 classic Korg Wavestation. Great history on this one actually. It started off, you had the Prophet VS, which had vector synthesis. Prophet were going bust and their assets bought by Yamaha, who part-owned Korg. A lot of that team went to Korg, and then they worked on vector synthesis, which became the Wavestation, which can do wave sequencing and vector. Incidentally, that then years later became the basis of what Korg developed on the Wavestate, which is what I've got connected here, and I can actually control the joystick through the Wavestate joystick on there. And there you can hear a great example of wave sequencing as it goes through those sequencing. But there's some really great sounds on this. As you hear that sequencing kick there, and the multiple layers on there. It's really complex synth. For this one, you can see we've got 6 different sounds, presets going through this in multiple layers. And each one of those layers can be then made up of a wave sequence. So I think that lower one, there we go, I've just actually, so that tab drops one. If we go into that, you see the patch, you can see it's made up of a wave sequence, which is playing that mute guitar part, so it's sequencing through those mute guitars. So it really complicated. So a really complex synth, but really nice. So here you can see the joystick going through the different vectors. And it's really capable of some nice pad sounds on there. Very digital, but really nice. Some nice pad sounds like this. Wave sequencing, very powerful, but it's still got some nice lead sounds on it as well, traditional synth sounds, and there are some rompler type sounds in there, which especially on these cards you've got like the piano sounds, which were added because people at the time wanted synths that would do everything, and this did vector synthesis and wave sequencing but didn't do basic piano, so that's why they added those type of sounds in. Genesis used these a lot. Tony Banks used it a lot on the We Can't Dance album, so you'll recognise a lot of those. There is a browser like there was on the M1 as well, where you can pick your different sound types. Hey, there you can hear it going through the wavetable. If we take a look at that one, you can see it going through that wavetable there. Again, this, And as I mentioned earlier, the Wavestate, the new Wavestate, is actually based on some of this technology, or it was inspired by this, I should say. So it kind of takes it a lot further, and you can recreate many of these sounds. These waveforms are all in the Wavestate and the mod wave actually as well. So you can recreate a lot of these. In fact, I've got a patch bank for the mod wave and the Wavestate, recreating some of the classic sounds. So it's really good at creating interesting pads, because it can do that movement with the wave sequencing and the multi-layers. So you can get some nice effects like that. There you can hear a good example of it going through the wave sequence. So really good digital synth to play with that one. Now there's a couple other things that are included. I've got separate videos on these. There's a KAOSS Pad, so this is like the effects pad that Korg brought, so you can process audio through it, but I don't think I'll be able to show you with my capturing software. But you've got this pad with a continuous controller, and then you can have low pass filters, high pass filters, and you can push sound through it, so you can put another synth or a guitar or whatever through it. So that's actually quite nice, and you can use that as an insert effect. Plus there's also an insert effect, or a set of insert effects you can use as well in your DAW. So that's Korg Collection 5. I've only really scratched the surface on some of these. I've got longer videos. Go on my YouTube channel and search for Korg Collection, you'll see longer videos, all the other ones. My new favourite is definitely this 2600. Really loving that. It's got some great sounds on there. There's a demo version available as well, so you can try some of these out. So the full bundle costs $299 currently. I think it's normally $399, but I think it's like $99 if you've got Korg Collection 4, and maybe $149 if you've got Korg Collection 3, and so on. Or you can buy them separately as well. I think it's $99 for this 2600 at the moment in the sale. I really like these. These are my go-to virtual synths for a lot of stuff, especially like these new ones that they've added on there. I've got much more in-depth video on this 2600 on the YouTube channel, and some of the other ones as well, so please check out those, the M1, the Wavestate. I've got some full ones on there. I also go on, and if you've got a mod wave or Wavestate, you can download many of these synths I've recreated. I've recreated the Polysix and the MS-20 for the mod wave because it includes their filters, so I've managed to model them. I've done the M1 and Wavestation, so check those out. Thanks for watching this video. I try to keep it as brief as possible, but there's a lot to show you, and please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.